Well, hi everybody, it's Father Josh. It's time for another road trip pilgrimage. Today we are driving to Manchester, New Hampshire. We're going to go to St. Anthony's Church. Really excited to check this out and see what we have here. Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. Let me see you do your stuff. I can't. Why not? My back is aching, my belt's too tight, my hips shaking from the left to the right, to the right, to the right, to the left, to the left, to the cat, meow, meow, to the dog, a roof, a roof. Yeah! And here we are at St. Anthony of Padua Church. So here we are at St. Anthony's Church here in Manchester, and we're going to try to find the pastor here, Father Richard. There he is.
Bienvenue à Saint-Antoine de Padua. Welcome to St. Anthony's.
Merci beaucoup.
Ici, on parle français.
Can we see the inside of the church?
Sure, come on in.
Just walking in here, stepping in here, this is such this huge space.
Oh, it's the neighborhood church. It's the neighborhood church that was built to encompass the entire area. And back in the day when the area was predominantly French-Canadian, and even to this day, St. Anthony's, if you look at the span of the building, the church apparently is the largest footprint of all churches in the state of New Hampshire, the Diocese of New Hampshire.
Wow.
Right off the bat, entering the church, the saints that are very much revered in the Canadian tradition, the Quebecois tradition, obviously is Saint Anne. Saint Anne, being the grandmother of Jesus Christ, holds a very special place in the hearts of the Quebecois people, in the hearts of the French Canadian. Connected, obviously, to St. Anne of Beaupré, a shrine visited by millions every year.
So it's amazing as you walk into this church, and as you said, it's this giant, giant church. But as you walk in, your eye is almost immediately drawn to this giant crucifix up above the altar. Like, why did they do that? Why do they have such a big crucifix right there?
I think when they design, and it's to my opinion, but when they designed St. Anthony's, they designed it first and foremost, take a look. Take St. Anthony's, put it upside down. It is to remind us of the hull of a ship. We are on board a ship, the bark of St. Peter, with Jesus Christ. That therefore Jesus is the center of the ship. He is the one that is in charge, is the one that leads us. The tabernacle, again, is his primary focus. The presence of the Lord on the ship of faith is with us, guides us, feeds us, has us baptized. Here's our reconciliation confession. The good Lord is with us as we celebrate life. And if we go down this massive church on the bark of St. Peter, we're going to find an aisle. Whenever we find an aisle, so to speak, begs the question, Father Josh, if we go to the theater and what seats do you want? You want orchestra, center orchestra, perfect seats. Then if those are the perfect seats, then why aren't there seats here? Why do we create an aisle? We create an aisle because this is the highway in which people come to be married, buried, where people come to celebrate and receive. This is the path of life that we come in to be fed. We stop at the altar rail, we stop at the sanctuary, the sacraments and the blessings and the prayers are given us, and then we go back out into that world in which we are, by God's design, Christ-centered. And we go into the world to teach and preach and evangelize.
So it's this really powerful image, just even the way the pews are arranged, that it draws us in, reminding us that we're on a pilgrimage.
Correct.
From heaven and back to heaven.
Excellent.
And the idea that this crucifix kind of draws and captures your attention right away is like pulling you in towards the front and reminding us of what's really important. Why are we here?
Exactly.
To encounter Jesus.
Encounter the Lord, that's right.
Let's talk about a brief history of St. Anthony of Padua Parish. In 1899, Father Dennis Charles Ling was appointed as the organizing pastor of a new parish in Manchester's Hallsville area by Bishop Dennis Bradley, the first bishop of Manchester. Then the next year, in 1900, a chapel measuring only 70 feet by 30 feet was constructed at 270 Belmont Street, becoming the first dedicated place of worship for St. Anthony of Padua Parish. The first Mass was celebrated there September 20th, 1900. Later that year, on October 2nd, Father George Albert Girton assumed the role of pastor and selected St. Anthony as the patron saint of the parish. In 1904, two Sisters of the Holy Cross arrived to teach the children of the parish, utilizing the chapel-turned-church hall as the first school building. Thus, St. Anthony's School was born. In 1907, Father Girton was named the third bishop of Manchester. So Father Louis Doucette stepped in and became the next pastor of St. Anthony's. He served in that capacity until 1934, and during that time, in 1927, the parish built a new brick school building. By 1945, the parish was growing. The fifth pastor is Father Alfred Constant, and by that time, the parish had over 4,000 parishioners, and a new church was much needed. So, Father, I understand that this is the last place in our diocese that offers a French Mass every Sunday. And I know you have French heritage, French-Canadian heritage. So what does that mean to you that you're able to celebrate the Mass in French?
I think growing up, my primary language was French. The secondary language was English. So French is the language that I learned how to pray and how to believe, and I dare say how to love. And so with that, our native tongue is special because we encounter not only God and love, but we encounter many, many, many things. Just having the honor of going back into time and remembering the love story that I first heard in French of Jesus Christ.
It's so true. Like, the language we first learn is the language of our heart.
That's right.
And yeah, so to be able to use these prayers that you heard growing up and, as you said, like re-enter into that mystery of falling in love with God and with the church, that must be a really powerful thing.
It is. I see very often within the context of prayer, I see the faces of grandparents and aunts and uncles, relatives. I see the faces of so many nuns and the educators that were primary importance in my young life. And it is truly a remarkable thing to be able to do, to say Mass in a language that is close to the heart.
Who are the people who are coming? Is it only people who grew up speaking French or from French Canada, or are there more people that Mass attracts?
I do believe, first and foremost, not that long ago, the French Canadian needed their churches in French because they literally didn't know English. Well, times have changed, and now in the Canadian system, in Quebec and everywhere, the children learn English at a relatively very young age as a mandate. So the need or the reality is when they come, if they come and transfer or migrate down here, the need for French is basically gone. They know, they have a good running concept, so to speak, of the English language. So that very intense need has shifted from the French Canadian. But where is it now? Well, we find it interesting that people from the Congo, from Haiti, students from St. Anselm who come from French-based countries come to church here. Their French, one might say, is a little different than the French found in Quebec today. but it is still their primary language.
It's still the language. It's the language of their heart.
The language of their heart, and the diocese provides for the needs of the people. So whether it's Spanish, whether it's French or Polish or Italian, the church always does its best to provide. Where we see a chapter slowly closing from the French-Canadian migrant, we see the French migrant from Haiti and from the Congo and these other countries, which is, so the church still has, there's still a need. And I'm honored to be the one, in the name of Jesus, to provide.
So the cornerstone of the second church, which we have today, was laid in 1953. The first Mass was celebrated there on June 13th, 1955, the Feast of St. Anthony. In June of 1970, during the tenure of Monsignor Wilfrid Paradis, several of the Manchester Catholic high schools, including St. Anthony, were fused into what is now known as Trinity High School. During the tenure of Father Fernand Croteau, from 1976 to 1988, the Pastoral Council was reorganized and the parish benefited from the Renew process. The parish set as its main goal to establish a spirit of community within the parish. In 1989, Father Charles de Rousseau became pastor, and he helped the parish to continue to work towards that goal. In 1999, St. Anthony's Parish marked its centennial anniversary with concerts, picnics, pilgrimages. The Jubilee Mass was celebrated by Bishop John McCormick on June 13th of that year, again, the Feast of St. Anthony. Now, it's always a sad thing when a parish or a church needs to close. And on April 30th of 2006, after 95 years of rich history of faith and devotion, Our Lady of Perpetual Help Parish was closed and joined to St. Anthony Parish. Our Lady of Perpetual Help had been formed in 1911 as the 12th Catholic church in Manchester, located on Cypress and Hayward Streets. Monsignor John Burke served the parish as a resident priest in his retirement years. His connection with the parish was deep and lifelong. As a young boy, he lived in the rectory with his mother, who was widowed and employed by the parish. He attended Our Lady of Perpetual Help School and served as an altar boy. In 1931, along with his classmates, he attended the presentation of an Our Lady of Perpetual Help icon from the Redemptorist Fathers of the Philippines. It was prominently displayed in the church for the decades that followed. It's a beautiful testament of faith that Monsignor Burke was raised and lived at Our Lady of Perpetual Help, served the Catholic Church in New Hampshire as a priest, and then returned to his childhood home and parish to continue to serve it until his passing in 2001. The union of St. Anthony Parish with Our Lady of Perpetual Help brought an influx of faithful parishioners to enrich that community. So, of all the churches we've gone to, I think this is the first time I've seen a hat in a box. Can you tell us what that is?
Sure. We pride ourselves here by having the hat in the box because it belongs to His Eminence, the Cardinal of Quebec, the Primate of all Canada, and is named Gerald Cyprien Lacroix, a son of the parish, grew up here a number of years, went to school here, went to Trinity High School, went to St. Anselm for a year, and he did missionary work out in the field. He is honored here. He graces us with his presence here quite often, and the people, we all love our Cardinal. He says the French Mass when he's here, and others as well, and he's a joy. We celebrated him when His Holiness elevated him to Cardinal, and we invited the entire neighborhood to come. So we always put his hat here, and when His Eminence is in town, when he is in church, the hat is removed and placed in the sacristy, indicating to the people the Cardinal is in the house.
That's really a powerful thing, that to think that a cardinal could have come from this parish. It's amazing.
Yeah, this is absolutely awesome. Yeah. He's revered and he is exceptionally loved by all.
This looks like something special. What is this?
This is one of the prized objects from, I would say, the French Canadian culture. This is a Christmas Christ child. Now, it's extremely significant and holds quite a very interesting story. First, they were fabricated by the sisters that resided in a particular parish. Again, it's very French in nature. The sisters used to collect the candles, the Paschal candle butts, at the end of the liturgical year. Mm-hmm. And the sisters would melt the wax in the molds of the Christ child. Now, wow. so you can never separate Christmas from Easter.
And that idea that like the Paschal candle represents Christ, so to use the remains of the Paschal candle to recreate an image of Christ is a really powerful thing.
And then the sisters would take the hair of the youngest novice that was entering into the convent, and they would apply the real hair to the Christ child, and with the glass eyes, and the Christ child was presented to the pastor.
There's something beautiful about that too. This young woman entering into a new life, and then her hair then being placed on the figure of Christ, the new life entering in the world. There's something really powerful about that too. Yeah. So this was a common French Canadian tradition.
A common tradition. Rumor has that the hands were very significant. I had once read that by the positioning of fingers by the Benedictus, or by both of them open, or one arm closed and one arm, all signify different orders of nuns. So you could actually, or sisters rather, and you could actually identify what order gave the Christ child by the positioning of the hands.
That's really interesting. Wow. I think I got the wrong key. It was the right key the whole time. Come on in, YouTube. As we said when we walked in, this is quite probably the largest church in New Hampshire, and it really is amazing to be up here to take it all in. It's just such a massive space. And yet, Father Richard is exactly right. As we look to the front, what we see is the figure of Jesus on the cross, and that just draws you in and draws you down to the tabernacle and really focuses in not only on all of this beautiful stained glass, all of these beautiful statues, all of this beautiful tradition that's here, but it really emphasizes this is what's most important and this is why we're here.
We often laugh about what is referred to as the pichu, the Canadian slipper. However, the Canadian slipper has a story. Very often during the high winters in Quebec, people would obviously go visit their neighbors and relatives and so on and so forth. And when they would get there, their boots were full of mud or snow and wet. And at the entrance of most homes in the province of Quebec were little piles of pichus. People would come in, take off their boots, and visit wearing a pair of the house pichus. So the tradition still lives on, as Mr. LaCroix, the Cardinal's father, still continuously makes pichus for not only the bishop, but also for many of the seminarians and priests. Father Josh, I thank you for coming to St. Anthony's and allowing us to share a little bit of our story here.
Well, thanks so much for having us. This has been great. We've learned so much today. It's a really beautiful church.
Oh, I think it's great. And again, I can't thank you enough for being here. God bless you in your ministry, in your priesthood, and in your work. The traveling church.
So that was St. Anthony's Parish in Manchester. What a beautiful church. What a giant church. And I just love that symbol that Father Richard talked about the church looking up like this upside down ship, that we're all on this ship in the church, on this journey back to heaven, on this journey to God. And then on top of that, to be able to talk about the rich heritage and the traditions of the French Canadians and all of that faith that goes into not just a building, but into a parish, into a community, into a whole culture. It's a really powerful thing. It was a really beautiful spot to see, a really great thing to be able to sit down with Father Richard and talk to him about those traditions. So St. Anthony's in Manchester, highly recommend. So thank you for watching this road trip pilgrimage and coming along with us. If you liked the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who you think might like it. And wherever your road trips take you, why not make it a pilgrimage? Safe travels, everybody. So that was St. Anthony's. Here we are.
Wait, I wasn't ready. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Go.
Well, here we are at St. Anthony of Padua. That's what we do. We're all just trying to find the way. We're all just trying to find the way. Sometimes you try so hard, but in the end, it doesn't even matter.